Hi, and welcome back to Eating Well with Rochelle. So this week I've decided against trialing any new foods. As I might have mentioned in my video last week, on last Sunday I was glutened, and this past weekend my stomach got really upset, and I haven't really been eating a lot of regular foods to keep it calm, and I've noticed that my taste abilities have been off anyways. I wouldn't want to judge something wrong just because I'm sick. So instead, what I wanted to talk about today are GMOs and just a little bit of education on why I choose to eat GMO free and my reasonings behind that. So you might be wondering first, what is a GMO? A GMO is a genetically modified organism, and that can mean a whole variety of things. It's where they alter the DNA of something so that it has some benefit. An easy example to visualize is like altering the DNA of an apple so that the apple doesn't bruise. That seems not so harmful. The GMO that I'm most concerned about is glyphosate, and it's a GMO pesticide from Monsanto. It's part of their Roundup pesticides, and that's the one that seems to give me an allergic reaction. As for GMOs, there's a lot of controversy around them because most countries have banned them. They're not allowed in the EU unless they're labeled. Most developing countries other than Canada and the US, they have to be labeled if they are used. In the US and Canada allows them because of certain studies that showed that they're not harmful that were done by Monsanto, which to me, being an engineering student, I don't know that I can trust any study done by the company itself, who profits from the exact product that they're saying is not harmful. That seems like could be some false science happening, but I don't know for sure. I just know that I personally have this issue with the one pesticide, so I eat GMO free. As for labeling in the US, there was just a major law passed, and it was signed by President Obama, and it'll be enacted over the next 2 years, that will require anything that is GMO to be labeled. The controversy behind this is that it won't necessarily explicitly have to say produced with genetic engineering or partially produced with genetic engineering, which you might have seen on some packages like Lay's chips. Companies can put a QR code that you have to scan to find out if it has GMOs or not. So some people are saying that's not like clear enough labeling, and that it's a way for companies to like trick users into not realizing that they have GMOs in them. You can form your own opinion on that. I'm just educating you on the facts. So regarding things that are GMO free, you might have noticed that a lot of the time I'll say something's GMO free, but then there are also times that I say something's certified non-GMO. So that's the Non-GMO Project, and their goal is to try and label things that are have been proven to be non-GMO, since there up till now hasn't been an official labeling process that requires GMO products to be labeled, and so they're kind of counteracting that from the different perspective. Another thing is that if something's certified organic, it is also considered to be certified non-GMO because organic products can't have pesticides on them, so inevitably it wouldn't have that alteration. And so that's a way that in sort of a positive manner to try and counteract this trend that's been very controversial so far. So as for glyphosate, I just want to go a little bit into detail about that so you understand what it is, why I bother, always mentioning whether or not things are non-GMO. So the pesticide glyphosate, it's a pesticide that in a lot of countries has been banned and is not allowed to show up in residues of food more than 1 part per million, versus in this country, it can show up in foods you're eating up to about 200 parts per million, which is obviously a very large percentage difference. So while I was in Europe, I found that some of the foods that I can't eat here in the US, I could eat there, and it was because they don't have this pesticide on them. For example, corn can have glyphosate up to 100 parts per million, versus in the EU, like I said, the maximum is 1 part per million. So I didn't have any symptoms eating any corn while I was in Europe, but I cannot eat corn here without having my face puff up and inability to breathe. So just some examples of amounts for different types of food. So for soybean, it can be up to 120 parts per million. For other grains, like thinking like rice and wheat and barley, it can be up to 30 parts per million. And then it gets lower and lower for other things, but it does start showing up in like sugar cane, beets, things that you don't even think should have that in them, and part of that is because this residue seems to be getting in other sources that's affecting different crops that weren't necessarily directly sprayed with this pesticide. There has been evidence that links this pesticide to cancer, other organ failures, bad things. I personally, like I said, if I have too much of it, I can't breathe and my face puffs up, so you might be able to see that my face is a little puffy, because when I was served something with gluten, wheat does have this pesticide on it. So personally for me, it's really bad to have in my life, and that's why I stay away from it. And yeah, but feel free to leave your comments below on your beliefs on GMOs and what you think should be the practice in this country, or if you're from around the world, you can go ahead and share what your experience is in your country. Don't forget to like the video, share, and subscribe, and hopefully next week I'll be feeling better so that I can try a food and share it with you guys instead of, just educating you, which is good, but not as exciting. So have a good week, everyone, and thanks for watching.